Oh, I just confused myself. Completely confused myself here.
No
I
worries.
started with the wrong thing,
That's
but we are
fine.
here. We've both sort of slid into the studio like last minute. So
We did, didn't we?
okay, so Chris, I think from the books that you write, you can be
Mm,
more or less described as like a master of conquering anxiety. But I think it's more than that. For me, it is like a master of grabbing your own life with both hands
yeah,
and changing the direction,
yeah.
because that's not easy.
Mm, no, no, and it certainly hasn't been easy for me. It's been a massive challenge.
Yeah. Um, so in our book, let me just get Muffin sorted here.
That's fine, no worries.
Hello, hello,
Hello.
Muffin. Okay. So in our book, that's coming out soon. Talk, Trust, Feel. You are writing about the big event that woke you up,
Yeah.
and got you to notice that something about your life is really not working.
Mm,
So I'm not going to describe the whole thing,
mm,
so people can go and read it, but it is about the robbery and being held at gunpoint. But
yeah,
the words that actually, and then the anxiety, this terrible anxiety that formed after this.
yeah.
But your life wasn't going 100% anyways, right?
No,
Before it.
no, no.
Okay.
Um, yeah, sorry. For me, it was sort of like that tipping point, really, and it was a horrific experience. But my marriage wasn't going very well. I was hating the job I was doing. Um, I had a young kids. I just left a job where I was doing 18 plus hours a day. I was not enjoying life whatsoever. And I didn't feel, I remember talking to my mum, when I was 28. So that was what, 12 years before that. I was saying, I need more than this. This isn't me. I want a better life than just going to work and working in retail and then coming home again. I need more from my life. I wasn't satisfied in anything, if I'm honest. I didn't know what my calling was. I didn't know. I had no clarity about where I was going to take my life. I just sort of like bumbling along, if I'm honest, in the dark. And the way I say it, lights off and just trying to each day just put my foot forward. That's all I was doing. And to say the challenge with my wife, we got really close. We had a great sort of marriage up to that point, and things were just starting to go by the wayside, if I'm honest, over a period of sort of 3 or 4 years.
So, I mean, that I think it really describes what happens to a lot of people.
Mm,
We somehow know. Well, for me, I'm a round peg in a square hole,
yeah,
and we somehow know there's more, and we also definitely somewhere know that we are capable of more, even if
yeah,
we are doing amazing, and even if we're
mm,
doing great things, we still know that there's just something. And
yeah,
then we go on with automatic flow.
yeah,
We go on with this life of sleepwalking where we just do what's expected, and we make sure there's money in the bank and food on the
yeah,
table, and everybody around us are reasonably happy.
yeah.
And we just don't know, we don't even know where to start.
No, no, and that sort of holds us back, really. You know, um, just just keep fighting each day, and that's what I felt I was doing. There was no sort of long term plan of where I wanted to go. There was no look at that. All I could cope with was just each moment, each day. That was it. And if I could get through that, then happy days. That went to the next day, and that was it. And it got a little harder, a little bit more challenging. I lost a little bit more of pieces of myself with each day. So that just went on for weeks and months and years, if I'm honest, of just sort of going, who am I? I didn't know who I
Yes.
was. I didn't even like the person I was. So yeah,
Yeah, I love how you say that, losing little pieces of ourselves, because we do. Because we
mm,
get into this codependent thing where we give away pieces of ourselves freely,
yeah,
and we don't know how to get what we really need. We have no
yeah,
clue where to even start. We don't actually even have a clue that we are supposed to start somewhere
yeah,
about getting something for ourselves.
yeah. No, we yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So when this robbery happened, and then it became worse, when it became excruciatingly hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It put me into the point, in life, most people will change through pain or pleasure. Most of the time, unfortunately, it's pain. And I just hit that emotional threshold where that was it. I couldn't, I couldn't do any more. And I was sick to death of feeling the way I was. And I said, no more. There's no more excuses. I've got, there's a line. I talk about, I'll be a bit geeky here, but there's a scene in First Contact to Star Trek. And Picard just goes mad, and he just smashes the back of the window behind him, when he's got a load of sort of Enterprise things, and he says, "Enough, no more. A line has been drawn. We keep falling back." And that's what I felt. I was sort of like accepting constantly, and that line was going further back to further away from who I was, and that was it. No more. The line has been drawn now. That's it. We're not going backwards. We're going forwards. Stop shrinking my own this comfort zone that you're in. Stop making it smaller and smaller and smaller. That's it. No more. They start pushing themselves out. They start attacking. They stop being so defensive about life, and let's go out there and grab it by the balls. And that's really what my thing was. And it came over a period of a couple of days, if I'm honest. And it was anger, a rage at myself. So come on, this is pathetic. Stop being so sad, and stop feeling so sorry for yourself. Just just do it. Just start. Doesn't matter where you need to go. Just start. That's all you need to do. There's so much information out there, and just go for it. Start learning.
Chris, I love what you're saying. That moment when you are actually getting your butt into some sort of action instead of just going along. And that moment, it's such an amazing thing that happens to yourself when you wake up enough to say, okay, fine, I need to change something. My friend Janetta Barry talks about after her daughter committed suicide, and she, for quite a few years, she was in this deepest dark place. And one day she crossed the road, and as she crossed the road, like literally in the middle of the road, she thought, I can't keep on living if this darkness is going to be all that I have. And so somewhere between the middle of the road and the other side of the road, she decided that if she's going to keep on doing this, she has to do it in a wholly different way, in a way that's got to be meaningful. And that, where you make the sense out of a tragedy, where you make the sense of the hardship that just unfolded in your life, that's a huge blessing to us, even if we can't see it in the moment.
Yeah. And I also feel as well, with what I've been through, what the pain I had has actually helped me. It's healed, obviously, but it's just helped me, guide me on my way, and knowing that darkness and knowing the worst parts of yourself, that I use that as motivation as well, and you can sort of see that in other people, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I want to help somebody, because I don't want them to go through the same pain as what I've gone through. That sort of like having to battle each day, that can be used for whatever you do in your life. That sort of iron will of strength of just keep going, and we can do this. That's sort of helped me through everything. But again, because I'm so open and honest with people, I find that they can share their darkness too, and know that there's no judgment, because I've been through it too. Whoever's feeling the way they are now, and they're thinking this is horrific, there is a better. It's you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to think you've been healed, and that's fine, because what this darkness does is it helps you and guides you on your way. And I've learned to love it as well. There's times where I'm on highs and I'm full of joy, but there's other times I'm really low. But now I understand that it's just part of who I am. There's nothing to worry about, and I can sit and just watch it rather than actually having all those feelings. So I think it's massive for me.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. I completely agree with everything. So I want to ask you another question. I know I've never asked you this question.
Okay.
I have a theory that, so you're dealing with crippling, and you dealt with crippling anxiety, which is anxiety and all its different forms, the most severe and then the ongoing chronic anxiety is something that such a lot of people are actually identifying with. I actually did a masterclass this Sunday for the church in London about anxiety. And my theory is this: if you don't have a strong core, then whatever life brings you is going to affect you way, way more. But once you've actually built this strong core inside yourself, you are more able to handle things which in the past would have completely gutted you.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. There's this quote: "You don't ask for an easier life, ask to be better, so that you can take these challenges." And I think life will keep throwing you challenges to develop and improve you. And if you've got that core of strength, that sort of grit, that inner determination that you get from anxiety and from depression, then that sets you, you know, there's so many people that I talk to that are very successful, and they go, "Well, I've had it crippling anxiety. I've, been through the pits of despair, and I've come out the other end because they've got that darkness in them that's helped them become a motivator for where they want to take themselves." So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, for me, I was completely and utterly roadkill. My brain stopped working, my adrenals stopped working. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I mean, I couldn't count. I mean, I couldn't remember more than 3 numbers in a row. So physically, I stopped functioning, and then mentally, I was really roadkill. I didn't know where to start, and I didn't have help. I honestly didn't have help. So to come from that place and then knowing how hard it was for me to go through that, being my normal codependent self, needing somebody else, a relationship, something to actually make me feel better about myself, to have grown into somebody who likes herself.
Yeah.
Full self-acceptance, 100%. I like myself with all of me, every
Yeah.
single thing. There's no more judgment of this is bad or that's good. This is just
Yeah.
who I am, and I own who I am. And that, I think, is for me really crucial, that self-acceptance, that owning yourself, because shit happens. I mean, a lot of stuff have happened in the meantime, and a lot of really, really traumatic things have happened.
Yeah.
And I've lost my mother, and I have gone through it mindfully, and it's been horrible because that is just something that's not easy ever. And I went through it, and I experienced it, and I wasn't decimated, although I was really, really
Yeah.
upset. Really had a long mourning period,
Yeah.
and doing really doing it mindfully, and but to ever go back to that place where I've been before I started building myself, that's unthinkable. And so, do you also feel that, Chris, that you could ever go back again to that guy that's post this hold up, post this gun to your head story?
No. If I'm honest, when I first had the armed robbery and I wanted to get away from this person I was, and I've pushed and pushed and pushed, and I wanted to run away as fast as I possibly could, if I'm honest. But now I sort of there's an acceptance of things. So you was talking about losing your mum and that. Because I've been through some horrific experiences, my sort of questions at this day and age sort of like, what's the worst can happen? I've been through it. Someone tried to smash my skull in.
Yeah.
I lost my brother. Now, but what's going to be worse than that? So it's a lot more sort of like, perhaps cold heart is probably the right word to say and how I view certain things in life. But again, we reject our emotions. We go, I don't want to feel this, so we push it away, we push it away, push it away.
Yes.
And because we've been through anxiety, and we understand that if we accept it, and again, anxiety isn't something to be, I want to beat it. Why are you trying to fight something that's part of you? And this is the thing I don't get. But so it's just a case of understanding why your anxiety is behaving the way it is, and just let the feelings go. If that makes sense.
Makes complete sense to me. So you're basically saying that I'm still here, and
Yeah.
now I'm trusting in my ability to be still here in spite of whatever has happened to me in the past, and in spite of whatever can happen again in the future, because now I've learned not to fight the feelings, and I've not learned not to fear the anxiety, but just
Yeah.
rather to go through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's say, if you fight, this is the thing: if you fight your feelings and fight them and fight them and fight them, then there's only going to be one winner, and that ain't going to be you. But if you accept them and say, "This is how I'm feeling," it's okay, and it could take months, it could take quite a while for you to go through those things. But once you come out of it, there's a sense of release, and also you also feel better, and you have a different perspective on life. And this is the thing that
Yeah.
people don't get. It's like, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. Let's push it away. No, those feelings are there for a reason. They're a message to you, and it's a case of, you know, understanding what that message is, and just accepting that your feelings you're in. You know, we all have negative feelings, we all have positive feelings. You know, they're fleeting. You know, that's what they are, and it's up to us to give them meaning and understanding. You know, and sometimes we don't need to. Sometimes we just need to go, okay, and just let them go. And again, that's what I've learned. And again, each experience you have, all these sort of, you know, dark parts at the time, because you will go through them, because going through anxiety and depression isn't a linear thing. You don't go from A to B, you know, you're going backwards. But even if you're going backwards, you still have a different perspective on what's going on, rather than going, oh God, why is it happening to me again? Why am I feeling this way? Oh my God, it's not like that anymore. It's like, cool. You know, this is how I'm feeling at the moment. It's all right. Again, you were talking earlier about confidence and liking who you are. You know, again, you then start judging it. Some people will judge yourself and say, oh, this is stupid. Why am I feeling this way? It doesn't matter, does it? It's okay.
No, it
You know, you've
actually
got
doesn't
this.
matter.
You've got complete control over this. So why do you need to worry about it? You know, there's a thing I saw on TikTok recently about this gentleman saying, oh, he got if I said to you, oh, you got blue hair, and you go, well, it's okay, I've got blue hair, it's not a problem. And what he's basically describing is, you know, people can say things to you what they think that you are, but you know you're not, because you've got that inner belief and confidence. It's the same with the anxiety. It can fire everything at you, but you've got this inner belief. It's okay, you can get through it, because you've got through it before, again and again and again. You keep proving it. So, yeah.
And as long as you push it away from you, as long as you've got that fear of a feeling, you are actually being held captive by it. But once you actually move to the next thing, which is, I am willing to fully experience it. I'm willing to see what is it wanting to teach me. Then get over the fear of feeling it, and that alone will help to diminish the anxiety, because such a lot of our anxiety is about the fear of having to experience what we are experiencing.
Yeah. So we avoid it. And
Yes.
then it becomes, rather than this tiny little thing, there's a little problem, it becomes this huge, massive thing, because then we put expectations on it, we put on what it means. And again, that's something that we can't do. You know, I'm not perfect, and I still avoid things, and we don't always realize that we are. But again, that's the thing. You know, if you deal with it straight away, it isn't going to be this big sort of scream. It's going to be this very small little whimper, you know, of an anxiety. Whereas if you leave it for, you know, it could be this massive thing, and it becomes something overbearing, and something you can't manage, you can't deal with.
Yeah, you know, the anxiety is not the primary problem. The primary problem is how we dealt with things in the past.
Yeah.
So how we judged ourselves, how we fear our powerlessness in a certain moment, how we fear that powerlessness of it ever being repeated again. We have huge, especially social anxiety about being judged and rejected and abandoned. And so we just keep on heaping up on it. And then you have this whole change inside yourself when you become calm and strong inside yourself, and then you can start to bring all those fear reactions down because of how you believe more in yourself. And then, so I think it's like you've got to be having a balance act of it, like, let me grow myself, but also let me experience my feelings so I can stop fearing them. And little steps, not all in one go.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's about balance, isn't it? It's not going too far that way, not going too far that way, and just allowing to feel it, and then grow, feel, grow, and just doing it like that and moving forward. And sometimes, as I say, you go backwards, but I agree with that.
So what I was supposed to say first, before anything else, is that in this country we are having load shedding. It's an interesting phenomenon. But of last night we were without electricity for 4 hours, and then without internet until this morning. So it may happen any moment, and my internet has been playing up the whole day. It's been so painful. So if we lose each other here, stay put, everyone. I will come back in. If I come back by candlelight, and I'm coming back still in, okay? And I also do want to make sure if anybody in the audience can just tell me if we're all clear and if everything is good. And then I want to, once I've checked with our audience, to make sure that everything is fine. If somebody can tell me, Alex, if somebody tell me okay, so let me see. Oh, we've got a comment from Mitch. Let's read it quickly. Okay. So somebody can hear us. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so Mitch, my feelings are defined by social. Oh, I can't say that word. Can you say it?
Societal definitions.
Societal. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Second language. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah,
No
there's
problems.
some words that you just don't hear a lot. So,
Yeah.
um, societal definitions. How does one learn to identify their feelings for themselves instead of assigning an arbitrary meaning? Right. That's such a good question, hey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
How
that's
does
such a
one?
good question. I love it.
Yeah, it is very good. How to identify the feelings themselves? Well, it's about self-awareness, if I'm honest, and what your thoughts are saying to you when you're going through it. They say put an arbitrary meaning on it. It again. It depends on what your feelings are saying and what's going on. Because for people, you could say, well, somebody says it means this and that, and getting other people's opinion. I wouldn't go down that route, if I'm honest. Again, it's what your thought. I'll go back to it. It is basically what your thoughts are saying. And understanding, what the meaning for it. So if you're going through anxiety is always a umbrella for something else is underneath it, and that's what you need to get to. And it's the same thing with this. You've got this feeling, but it might not actually be the main feeling. So you need to understand what your thoughts are saying. So, I recommend meditating. I recommend spending some time sort of like getting calm. And there's other options as well. There's harmonics, which is binaural beats. You can listen to that. Brown noise has been brilliant for me. Stuff like that. And it's just getting calm and just allowing your thoughts to rise up, and then that will give you what's actually going on, and then you can note them rather than giving them a thought. Because again, with anxiety or with your feelings, sometimes you don't actually have to do anything with them. Sometimes you can just let them go. It's when we start giving them meaning, when we start actually looking at them and dissecting them, then we start making them into something that doesn't need to be. Feelings are just a message. That's all they are. Feelings are just say, look, this is what's going on and how we're feeling in this very moment. And it could be jealousy. It could be something petty. It could be just your ego getting in. That's something that I would recommend. So just look at your thoughts and see what's going on. But again, you don't have to actually do anything about them. That's the truth.
I love it. And I'm letting a guy answer about feelings because that's very powerful. So so you don't have to say this is a bad feeling, this is a good feeling. You don't have
Nope.
to say I should feel it, I shouldn't feel it, or I
Nope.
should feel this way. You can just experience it and try and feel what it's trying to tell you, right?
You can, yeah. Or it could be something
Or
that,
not.
it just, it could be just something that's come along your way. And let's say I talk about thoughts you get about. There is a lot of argument over how many thoughts you get a day, but it's up to around about 90,000 thoughts a day. 90% of them are the same thoughts you've had the day before that, the day before that, the day before that. So it is really just a case of, some of it just might be something you're just thinking in that moment, and they come in. If you don't actually, just okay, cool, just let the balloon. What I'd like to do is like cars, zooming past you, standing on the motorway, and there's cars just zooming past, zooming past, zooming past. These are your thoughts. They're just bombing past all the time. It's only when you look at them and start, getting in, oh, I like that car, and you start thinking about it, and then you grow the feeling. Sometimes you don't even need to actually take any of that feeling on board at all.
Love it. Such a good answer. I hope that answers you, Mitch. If you have another question, then just yeah. And thanks, Alex. Thanks for telling us. Okay. So if you have another question, we'll come back to that. All right. So I just want to go back to this now. So I want to just share this one slide from which is from your chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, each day, piece by tiny piece, fingernail by fingernail, I was getting out of this pain. No one would stop me. The anger and rage subsided. The reason I was going to get better was different. I wanted to get away from the old me as quickly as I could. I didn't want to be stuck in the endless, depressing cycle of pity and shame. All right, so that's a very, very powerful passage. But if you do this every single day, just with determination, a little piece at a time, you don't have to do it all in one go. It's like,
No.
the tips of your fingernails, just
Yeah.
move an inch up per day, you get momentum and you start building on that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And as I say, it starts off difficult, but it's just making that one. I'll talk about 1% each day. So you just go 1% a little bit better each day, and that's what you do. So you look after 30 days, that's 30% over a year. Yeah, it's hundreds of percent. So that's a massive improvement in you. But again, once you start believing that you're doing it, and you go, wow, look how far I've come. And again, there's something I really recommend people do. So when you're feeling sort of down and low, excuse me, track back and look at the progress you've made in your life. I recommend journaling and stuff as well. That's something I think is really helpful it's been helpful for me. And just go back or just read things you've done in a year, 2 years ago, and go, wow. I've managed to read something I wrote about 7 years ago, and that really sort of brought to me how I felt, what my belief system was. It's fine. I've got I've got 2 dogs. One keeps running in, and the other one's just sitting over there at the moment. So there might be a fight in a minute, but so yeah, it's just tracking back and understanding, the progress you made. But fingernail, once you start looking down and seeing what you've done, you get more confident, don't you? And then you start going faster and faster and faster, and that moves things quite forward. But again, it's that sort of pain to start off with.
But I want to put this in perspective, because sometimes people say to me, yeah, but Louise, it was easy for you. It's not such thing. So to put it in perspective, you were quite young when you have taken this enormous burden on you.
Yeah.
That you have caused your brother's death. I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't in reality do that, but you have made the judgment that you are a terrible, terrible, terrible person for having caused your brother's death.
Yeah.
And you have walked through life, grew up feeling this utter despondency that this is what your life is. So you didn't come. You came with this very deeply entrenched belief that something about you is just so not right.
Yeah, exactly. From 10 years old, anything bad that happened, I deserved it. Almost, when everything was going good, I would start self-sabotaging and making it 10 times worse, because that's what I deserved. And I couldn't believe when things were going right that, things were going right, and I shouldn't feel happiness because, my brother's in a grave. It was not easy, and anybody thinks that, getting out of it, because we all have individual challenges. Anxiety is something that knows you intimately, so it will come up with every single fear, and worry, and use it against you in some respects. So it's never easy, but it's an amazing feeling when you actually start to break free, and you're starting to do things that you start feeling joy again, and start coming out your shell, and start seeing the person you are. But yeah, it's never easy. When I was 10 years old, we didn't have the opportunity to do in counselling, which I recommend anybody go down therapy, etc. I didn't have any of that. It was a case of, right, okay, your brother's dead, just get on with it. And my parents didn't have the opportunity to Google, because that wasn't about. They didn't have anything available to them apart from a few books and stuff that my mum tried to help with. But how can you? There's this. It was just a massive emotional bomb. I had a brother that everything just completely blew up our family, and we're not that close because of that now. And that's not a fault of of anyone. We've had to deal with some really strong pain for many years, and it's really difficult to people to talk about it and open up about it. We're talking about the 80s, we're talking about the 90s. Men didn't talk about their feelings, just didn't say I feel hopeless, I feel worthless, I deserve all this pain. And when I was 16, when I had started going for GCSEs and stuff, I self-sabotaged and completely blew up because I just couldn't cope. I just couldn't cope with the pressure. My mum tried to said, "Get out of the house," and I ended up smashing the window. Put my hands through the window because that's the sort of things that I was. I wouldn't say I was very bad, to be fair. Everything was internalized. I kept all of it in. And my parents, we talked about this the last sort of 5 or 6 years, and sort of like, well, why didn't you tell us about it? So like, what could I say? I was so full of shame. This is my fault. I did it. Why would I come up and say, it's me, I did it all? seeing my family fall apart, that was horrific, and that was all on me, just watching my mum. I think I put it in the book, but watching my coming home one day early, and my mum holding my brother's baby go in her arms, and just crying, and that cry, that wail of a hole in her heart, and the longing, and the just sheer grief, still that wail still is in my head. I hear it every single day, and that you're talking 30 plus years later. So it isn't easy, but I want to, hopefully this is something to inspire others, that you are capable. And again, this sort of like feeling of not being enough, feeling that you can't move forward, that sort of strength that you keep doing each day, you keep getting up, you keep doing the jobs you're doing, you keep doing it, that strength will help you break free of anxiety. Because I don't like using the word fighting against it or anything like that, because it isn't. You're not fighting it, because your anxiety actually, when over a period of time you realize that you can love it, because your anxiety is helping you. So it's not easy, but you're more than capable. Anybody's capable of achieving it, but there's so many people that in some sense actually enjoy feeling lost, powerless, and that's an addictive feeling as well, and that's something you need to break as you move forward.
Now, we need to talk more about that. But, you touch on something there. Anxiety is actually normal. Our bodies are designed to feel anxiety so that we can survive. Our bodies are designed to be on high alert when there's danger coming. And we're supposed to be having adrenaline and then get into fight and flight. But then we are also supposed to regulate down. And so if you fight it, you're fighting something that is really normal inside yourself. So I love what you say. You actually can't fight it. Just accept it and regulate down.
You'd say your amygdala, which is your oldest part of your brain, that's there to constantly check. So each time, during the day, you're going through it, all your senses. So every single sense you've got, it goes through your amygdala before. So if it senses a threat, that's it. So there's no point, your neocortex, which is your more reasoning brain, there's no point in saying, I can just sort myself out and no, it's already there. There's a threat coming. We need to deal with it. And we can't control that. That's it. It's already, amygdala's taken over, shuts off the neocortex. So reasoning part of the brain, that's all shut off. Your IQ gets dropped by 50%. You're in it. Panic mode. Here we go. Oh my God, this is coming. The bear's coming. That's what, then you get your adrenaline, noradrenaline. I'll never pronounce that right. And there's your cortisol. All that stuff goes into your system as well. So how can you fight something that is your basic part of your body? You just can't. It's just it's ridiculous to think that you can, but people do. They think that they've got this. I had this arrogance that I could fight it and get over it, but you can't, because it's not even sort of like your reasoning part of your brain. It's your animal part of your brain, and that's your basic, your core.
And we have this expectation of ourselves that we are supposed to be in control, and we're all calm and zen and peaceful and loving, and that's not life. That's not really how it is. So I want to ask you another question, Chris. I just want to actually not ask you a question. I just want to check that I'm right, so that our viewers can understand. So you had all the stuff going on in your life, and was only after you had this huge wake-up call that you actually can't live like this anymore, this gift of overwhelming anxiety, that you decided, now I'm going to look for help.
I just hit that point where enough's enough, and there's a lot of anger and rage that I sort of channeled into myself. And again, this is something that can help anybody. If you're angry and frustrated, use it. It can start. It's a massive rocket fuel to start you off. Right, I'm sick of this. I'm absolutely sick of the situation I'm in. I'm sick of how I'm feeling. Let's sort this out. Let's just do this once for all. Let's learn. And I'm a bit sort of like, I like to do it my way. So I started looking on YouTube. I started reading books, loads of books on the subject about anxiety, about how the brain is. And that's, and that position has continued. So now I can bore everybody for England on it. It's just, YouTube was a massive thing for me. I went, okay, I got myself a life coach, somebody that I still work with. I think is absolutely amazing. And it wasn't for him that I wouldn't be in the position I am now. And again, I talk about this, and I talk about this, in my job. There is this processing thing as well, where we're allowed to talk things out. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that anybody has. If you're able to process what's going on and able to explain it out, that actually helps you as well. So I talked about this earlier, and I'll go back to this. The most important thing is, if you are struggling, then I do recommend you get yourself, a therapist or somebody that you can talk to, and journal as well.
But before you do anything else, you get so fed up with the way that you're living that you are willing to actually do what it takes to get better. Because I want to check if there's any more questions here, because I want to go to another passage that you wrote in your book. So let me quickly check if there's any more questions. I didn't see another one. Let me check. Okay, no, it's all good. Mitch said thank you. And let me go back to another passage from the book. There we go. Okay. So now I can't see what it says because we are beautiful hearts over it.
Okay. Listen to YouTube videos and listen to music to help me feel better. My life defining moment, the moment I faced death and survived, was now the fuel to do something great. A reflection of the man I was, this pathetic excuse for a human being, a man that was far too selfish, who was squandering his life, was wasting his skills, sabotaging relationships with loved ones. I was determined to heal. The race away began.
Okay, so what I want to talk about there was that you were actually self-sabotaging before that. And I think you mentioned a little bit earlier that you were not worthy of being happy, getting good things in your life.
Yeah, I was not worthy of love. I had an amazing woman by my side, and I was just pushing her away. And I needed time on my own, so I would do things to annoy her on purpose. And because I was quite intuitive and I can understand what frustrated her, I would use that against her, if I'm honest, and just push people away. I just wasn't always the greatest person to be around, if I'm honest. Jobs, I self-sabotage, allowed my anxiety to control what I did. I got too fearful, got too worried. I buried my head into work. That's what I did, hours and hours and hours on end, excuses. Oh, I need to get the job done. No. That was because, I couldn't cope. And I felt that I was, had some sort of control over my life in here. I had 2 young kids, and my son had ADHD. So I had, quite a few challenges there. So yeah, that was really what I did. I just buried myself in work, switched off from everybody. And I the armed robbery, disassociation. I did the same thing quite a lot in my, my daily life. I just switch the feelings off because I couldn't cope with what was going on with my life. I wasn't happy. It wasn't the job, wasn't the calling I wanted, and I was upsetting everybody. I wasn't awful, but I was certainly not the person I was, and the skills that I learned, the skills the person I was, so I was not using them. So so self-centered, if I'm honest, poor me, everything's, why is this happening to me? Why is this going on? That was what I was like.
Yeah, so I mean that's it's actually quite easy to understand once you understand what goes on inside you, that powerless that you have about this huge thing that determined how you looked at your life. But you've been going to powerless. This is just, I have no power. I can't change things. I mean, something happens and then you can change it.
Yeah.
But let's go back to self-sabotage, because I think for a lot of people, it's really hard for us to wrap our heads around this idea that we can actually sabotage ourselves enough so that we can lose what we really what we want most. We can lose our connections, our best connections. We can lose our family. We can lose the job that we really need.
Yeah.
Because of this programming that we have inside. And so from 2 sides, because one that you mentioned was, I'm this horrible person. I shouldn't be happy. I caused this terrible thing. I caused my brother's death. I caused my mother's anguish, my parents, my family falling apart. So I should punish myself. And I should not be happy. I should run away from anything that looks like happiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have the other side of, because you don't believe that you are worthy of anything, and you don't want to be disappointed, that you are going to make sure that when it looks like you're going to be disappointed, that you are the one who breaks it, so that you don't have to stay on top of everything else. They don't love me anymore. They don't want to be around with me. That you actually sort of take control of breaking it, so that you are not feeling, I am the one who's mercilessly waiting for somebody to get rid of me because I'm so horrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just the fear and trying to protect myself.
And so, how did you figure this out, that you were self-sabotaging?
Many years later, working with my life coach, if I'm honest, and writing my first book, and just going through that and sort of getting an understanding. And I've been somebody that's always been quite good at reflecting on how I get on, and being self-aware of what's going on. But it just gave me to another level, if I'm honest. And I'm just like, okay, I see where the patterns go, because you do,
Yes.
and again,
Yes.
it's that blind sort of thing. And a lot of people don't realize the self-sabotage. If you would talk to them and say, you're self-sabotaging, they go, no, I'm not. And then you actually explain to them what you're doing to self-sabotage. Yeah, you're right, I am. And just hearing so when I talk to my life coach, just hearing what I'm saying, go, hang on a minute, what's going on here? What am I doing? But yeah, that's it was several years later, if I'm honest, on my journey, and again, it allowed me to heal and understand that I've spent so many years trying to run away from this lad that was so full of self-pity, so selfish. I learned to understand him and put my arm around him and say, do you know what, it's all right. Under those circumstances of what you went through and what you saw in life, you did the best you could, and that's okay. But that took years to sort of heal that. But yeah, self-sabotage, I just found fascinating. But that's the thing, self-sabotage happens all the time, and you don't, as I said, you don't see it, but even now you do things, and because it's just a basic, just a belief, is a process that happens in the brain that you do. You're protecting yourself, and you don't realize it's happening until perhaps sort of further down the road, or someone points it out to you. You go, okay.
Yeah, that's what counselors are there for. Professional help is to help you find your blind spots, because you are so in your story. And especially if you're in a victim story, or if you're in a self-protective story, you can't actually see what your motivation is and where it's coming from and what you are able to do to yourself.
Yeah. The perception as well. So we only see 7% of what's going on because of how the brain works. Because obviously, if we had 100%, then we'll be an overload within seconds of the time. So what we tell our brain to look at, that's what our brain does. So this is what I mean about we don't realize, because someone could say, good morning, how's it going? And we could take that as someone's being grumpy, and they didn't. They're just seeing how you are. But because we only see 7%, because that's how it is, we're the directors of our own movie. And that's what people don't realize, So there's so much more out there that we're not aware of, and that what we do. But there is a reason why we only see 7%, because if we saw the whole lot, then, there's no way we'd get out of bed. We'll be completely overwhelmed all the time.
But this is what I love about this, like this thing happens and suddenly I'm taking my attention away from where I've been stuck. And now I'm starting to put my attention on what I want to achieve. Little bit by little bit. So Tony Robbins says, put your attention where you want to go. And that's what your life will become, or something to that effect. And it really, your story is a great example of that. It's like, I'm taking it away from whatever the story was in the back. And I am now working on not going back to those excruciating feelings. I'm putting my attention somewhere else. And then, like you say, your 7% changes. From that story, your 7% changes to where you want to go. And then you start putting the right actions in place to go reverse.
Yeah. For me, is making what I'm doing bigger than myself. Because as humans, I've made a mission to myself. I want to help 500,000 people. So when the challenges get tough and really hard, and they do, because life gives us challenges, then I understand that actually this isn't just about me. My story, my challenges, I can help others. I know I can. So I've got to push past that. Whatever story that's going on in my head at the moment, I still need to get past that, because my mission is this, and if I need to get there, then I need to get over these challenges, and that'll help other people too. So that's something I recommend as well. If you're wanting to get out of anxiety now, make it a mission, make it something that's, you know, bigger than you. And a lot of people will do that. You know, you'll do far more for the people than what you ever do for yourself. So if you make it look, okay, I want to help people. You know, the only way I'm going to help people is if I go through this myself and learn and develop and improve, and then I help them through what I've learned. You know, that's what I recommend. Make it a mission. Make it something really sort of like quite strong and powerful for yourself. And just right, okay, well, you know, it's climbing Everest at times. You know, like fingernail by fingernail, it is like climbing Everest. But if you've got somewhere to head to, if you've got that, you know, that light, and go, that's where I'm going, and you know, and this is not just for me, this is for everyone, then, you know, it's a different conversation, and rather than being something that's quite selfish, if I'm honest, it's for, you know, to make a difference.
Yeah, true story. Because I mean, I went the same road. I'm such an introvert, and when I found out that I could actually feel completely different just by applying a few tools that I just never had any access to, no matter how hard I tried, I become so determined that other people shouldn't suffer so much in order to find real help, because I tried. Psychologist after psychologist, I really tried to find real help. And so I volunteered to help at a psychiatric clinic. I can't speak English today. And in my head, I just had that one story, that one about the starfish, that I can't save all the starfish, but if I go tonight and I can find just one starfish to help, then every single thing that I have done, that I had to go through, that I had to learn, will be worth it. And so I went and I helped one starfish, and I completely got over my introvert self that never would have done what I'm doing right now. I mean, I think you're also introvert.
Yeah, I am. I'm a massive introvert. INFJ on the Myers-Briggs scale, but yeah, I'm a massive introvert. And you know, and knowing that you've helped somebody else, and you know, that's what keeps you going as well, and that helps your anxiety yourself. You know, I've helped
you get massively over yourself when you've got that big goal, exactly like you say.
Yeah, and that feeling is just amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Yeah.
It takes your attention away from looking at the problem, and so that you don't have that monkey mind about the problem anymore, and then your vision changes to that 7%. So let's look at our questions here.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Oh, we've got good questions. There. Can one bring someone else to realization that they can have a better life, especially after trauma and childhood? Oh, no, you can't. No, you can't. What do you say? You can't convince somebody else. They've got
Say again, sorry.
You can't convince somebody else that they can have a better life.
No,
you can't.
No,
focus on yourself.
It's got to come from here. You know, whatever. It's the old thing, is it? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can encourage them. You can give them so much things, but there's got to be in them, and something that I get quite a big kick out of, if I'm honest. If someone realizes there's an aha moment, we go, okay, and realize what they're capable of achieving in their life. That's the only way, you know, they'll change. But it's got to come from them. You can't go, right, okay, you can do it, and someone go, oh, right, okay, you just can't, because there's so much in there. You know, you've become an adult. You know, you've got your own beliefs on what you think they want, and you can't convince. No matter how hard you try, and I'm sure that, you know, we'd love to be able to force people to change. You can't. And that's their free will as well. You've got to allow them to make their own decisions on what it is. You can give them encouragement, you can give them coaching, you can talk to them, you can talk about your own experiences, but they don't want to change, then, you know, it is a bit of a wasted breath, if I'm honest.
Yes, but I have great advice.
Yeah.
Because if you can convince somebody else to sit and listen to me and Chris and read our book, they might get inspired all by themselves. So
Yeah,
how's that, Elise?
yeah,
So give us a hardware if you like that. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So
It,
Virginia, I'm going to show you a comment now. I think maybe you didn't come in. You didn't see all of it. So
yeah.
if you haven't seen all of us, go back and watch the whole thing again. But Chris, you can answer this one. Were you like this from childhood, or did an incident or trauma bring on your anxiety and self-sabotage?
Yeah, but I was quite a quiet lad before my brother passed away. Um, I liked to spend time on the stairs, and then because I had two other brothers, we used to play quite a bit together. So I was quite introverted and quite quiet at the time anyway. But this what changed me was the experience, and life just was never the same after I lost my brother. You just felt like I describe it a bit like the light come out of everything I saw, you know. Very much like Saving Private Ryan, how they did the filming of that. Let all the colour sort of drain out of it, and that's basically what I felt from there on in. Life wasn't the same. I could see in the darkest part of life, and and that was it. And that's the reason why my anxiety sort of like kicked in. But then I tried to control it, and and push it down, and pretend everything was okay, and when it never was.
Chris, do you have any of your books near you?
Bear with me for a second. I might have. One second.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to come back to Virginia, to your question in a minute. And if there's any more questions, we still have time a little bit for a few more questions.
I've only got my Fearless Author Mindset book. I haven't got my Hope and Anxiety books. I'm afraid.
Okay,
No, I haven't got any of the books for me at the moment.
I'm always asking this question, and a whole lot of us authors are not carrying our books around with us.
But, no.
Yeah.
So we're looking to move house, so I've boxed them up.
Okay, so if you can please come back into the chat afterwards and just post the link to your Amazon page so people can get that. Okay, so there's another good question here from Virginia. Did you try meditation and breathing exercises to help you with anxiety?
Yeah, meditation, I did it for years, if I'm honest, and I still do, but I do it in different ways now. I'm a little bit more flexible with myself because my brain, it can be very childish at times and go, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it today. So I have to try and find ways around it. So yeah, I do. Something that I learned from my life coach is called 60 seconds to success. So it's a breathing. So you box breathing. So breathe in for 5, hold for 5, breathe out for 5. So I do stuff like that as well. And I'm starting to go into Wim Hof as well. I don't know whether you know about him, but very much about sort of breathing and holding your breath and then pushing out and then all that type of stuff as well. So, but the main one for me is at 60 seconds to success, where, most of the time it's transitioning from going from, coming home and talking to my family, or when I'm going to work, who I want to be, and just sort of going through that just quite briefly as well. But that's what I tend to do, 60-second success. And again, sometimes, when you're walking around, it's just sort of slowing your breath down, and enjoying the view and just allowing your heart just subside, and actually do it. And my parent, my kids now pick up on the fact that I, try and regulate myself. It's like, you do it again. So yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, and Dr. Detlef Baker's book, one of his books specifically, have a lot of breathing exercises. Do you know the book by Detlef?
What was it? Sorry,
Detlef. Do you know Detlef Baker's book about anxiety exercises? There's a lot of breathing techniques in it. The whole book is because he also had crippling anxiety, and so he's got a lot of breathing exercises specifically if anybody is looking for breathing exercises.
That's be good. There's another book, that one of my favorite books of all time. I don't know if I can got it here. Breathe. James Nestor. Don't know if you can see that. It's an absolutely amazing book. Beautiful book. This and that goes through bits and pieces as well.
Yeah, the thing with anxiety is, all of these things are about grounding yourself. So every single thing is about grounding yourself. So we call it breathing, but it really is grounding exercises, because breathing grounds you, and you can ground yourself in a variety of ways. So so a lot of those, but I think what you are really describing is that it was an attitude change that happened inside you. And then when the attitude change happens, you don't need those breathing exercises all the time anymore, because something inside you is so very different. But,
yes, you rewired your brain. So you don't have the same reaction to things.
Yes.
But one thing that I do, and my daughter and my wife just think I'm weird, but another grounding thing is to go called forest bathing. It's basically going out into the woods and stuff. That's really quite helpful to ground you as well. Just take a note of, the flowers are there, the birds, etc. And also, I'll sometimes go barefoot on my grass, because again, I'm at one with nature. So there again. That's something that my kids just go, "You're weird." And there's sometimes where when I'm feeling quite stressed, I'll sit and I've read, and I've got my feet on the on the grass, and I'm just letting the sun go on my face. And again, that's a really quite powerful grounding way of doing it. But again, reading for me, another way of grounding myself and just sort of like slowing down, because obviously you're focusing on the words. That helps. Excuse me, that helps me too.
Yeah, you literally take your focus away from the anxiety that's holding you, and you're putting it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so when your focus moves and you feel grounded, then the anxiety can start just lifting a bit. Okay, let me see. I think Virginia has got a good yes, that's awesome. Yoga is such a mindfulness thing. That it's an excellent practice. It's a practice like meditation, where you learn that your brain is not in charge of you, but you are in charge of your brain. And just to get that right in the beginning, if you can somewhere along the line bring that into your understanding, that your brain is, your thoughts are not in charge of you. Your brain is not in charge of you. You are in charge of it, and you can redirect it to a different place.
Yeah, exactly. Say, your subconscious stuff will do as it's told. You tell it what to do, and that's the way. You just sort of being aware of what thoughts go through your mind, how you can manage them. It's just like pulling up the weeds, isn't it? As long as you're focusing on the right things, then you're not going to be hoodwinked into going down the wrong track. It's just sort of being the watcher and watching what's going on, and controlling what you feel is right, and focusing on what's important to you.
Yes, love it. Okay, so all right, let me see here. Nature is great for grounding itself. Yes, I love it. If somebody does that already, I love it. Got another good comment here. Powerful, agree, Louise. Grounding is so important. If your base chakra is off, it affects you mentally and emotionally and physically. Truly enjoyed your interview. Thank you both. Big pleasure. Love and nature grounding. Okay, and so I think we're getting to the end. I'm really relieved that my internet lasted, my electricity
we did
lasted.
it. We did it.
We did it. We did it. People could hear us. And guys, remember, what makes me really, really happy is when you go and you put those hearts for us, please. I don't see enough of them. We need a few more. Thank you, everybody, for watching and for sharing and for encouraging and sharing your experiences. I want you to share this, please, to people that you know are suffering from anxiety. Let somebody wake up and understand that they have the power inside them to start doing it the way that Chris did. Let them be inspired by this. And our new book coming out, Talk, Trust, Feel, is going to be awesome. I'm so excited. And Chris, please share your books in the chat also.
Sure.
And if people are coming in afterwards and they're watching the replay, I know a lot of you are coming in. We appreciate everyone who watched live, who watched the replay, every one of you. Yes, thank you, and Reason of a Heart. Thank you so much. I love it. And keep on doing that. Keep on doing that. And share and come back. Next week, there's more coming on. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Chris. I loved it, like always. Love talking to you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay, great. And let's muffin. behave. So I think she knows. I think she understands what I'm saying. Like she's, I'm going now. It's done.
Yeah, let's go. We're out. We're
I've done
done.
my work. Yeah, now I've done my work. I'm leaving now. Okay, so lots of love to everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks, Chris. You're awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you. I've enjoyed it. Thank you. Take care, everyone.